Hello, everyone. This is Doina Huso, Digital Communications and Marketing at WorldFish. I'm happy to be opening this session with you all, and welcome. With me today is Celeste Dizon from CIMIT in Mexico. Hi, Sal.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Maria Celeste Dizon, Global Mobility and IRS HR Manager from CIMIT, based in Mexico. On behalf of the Coordinating Committee of CGIAR's first ever employee-led resource group, or ERG for short, I'm pleased to welcome you to the launch of something really new. Welcome to Wellness at CGIAR, a new cross-system, volunteer-led group of people who are passionate about workplace wellness.
On behalf of the Coordinating Committee of the CGIAR, I would like to also let you know that back in July, when we all started this, a call went across the CGIAR to anyone who was interested in kickstarting a system-wide group around promoting wellness. This group of people, it's 12 people at the moment. It's a very diverse group in age, in nationality, in gender, in discipline, and spread all around the world. And together, with the help of the GDIR function, we would like to discuss the topic of wellness and think about what we as volunteers could do to help to promote wellness in the CGIAR. Over to you, Sal.
Now, after many meetings and brainstormings, after much research and discussions, and over 4 months later, here we are, ready to launch Wellness at CGIAR. We have chosen to launch our ERG in October in honor of the World Mental Health Day, which was last Saturday, October 10th. Our launch event today will allow us to share information with you about our ERG and how you can join, as well as having our first micro event that will provide you with some tools to practice mindfulness and self-care. Doina?
Thank you. This event is the first of many, we hope, and we are full of surprises today. We will have an interactive session, and before we start, I would like all of you to keep in mind a few instructions, some housekeeping rules. All attendees are muted by default, and if you want simultaneous interpretation, is available for you in Spanish. We have a Mentimeter poll happening at the moment, and you can access that by scanning the QR code in this slide. And also I will share with you other instructions in the chat box to join the Mentimeter poll. So please keep an eye on the chat box for those instructions and submit your questions or comments on the Q&A box, which you may find below your screen. I would like to let you know that this event is being recorded and the video will be shared after we end this session. If you have any troubles accessing the presentation, please contact Thomas Muller. He's online today with us. Thank you so much, Thomas, for your support. And the other rules that are not written, but they're open for everyone, is I hope you enjoy yourselves today. I hope you share as many questions and comments with us and with each other. And I hope you give each other a shout out, your colleagues, in the Q&A box, if you would like to do that. Over to you, Sal.
Okay, without further ado, I would like to welcome Fiona Farrell, the System Senior Advisor on Gender, Diversity and Inclusion, or GDI for short. Fiona, over to you.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Doina and Sel, and huge thanks to all the ERG members. As Sel has said, my name is Fiona Farrell, and I lead the new systems support function that aims to advance gender equity, diversity and inclusion in our global workplaces. I'm really excited to join today's launch of Wellness at CGIAR as our first employee-led resource group. It's the culmination of many months of hard work from 12 dedicated volunteers, as our colleagues have said. I think what they've been quite modest. They've really given a lot of time to come together over these months to think things through and to try to create something brand new, as Del said. And the concept is that it's going to be a new space for everyone in CGIAR to talk about and learn about and to practice wellness together. As Duina said, this is the first of many planned events, I understand. It's been a real honour for me in the GDI function to see the dedication of these volunteers and to be able to support them so far. And I look forward to continuing to support them in the coming months and years. Before we kick off today's session, we thought it would be useful to give a short introduction to the concept of what exactly an employee-led resource group is. Because we recognise that many people may never have heard the term before. You can see up on the screen right now that really there's not a lot much more to it other than ERGs are spaces, they're safe spaces within workplaces where people can come together because they have things in common. So being a member of an ERG is pretty much like being in a work club. Where you come together because you have maybe shared characteristics or you have shared life experiences, or maybe it's an intersectional grouping like, women in research and science. And ERGs can be organized around anything that people have a common interest in, like a sport or a hobby, or in this case today, an interest in wellness. So each ERG has its own reason for existing, and it's totally created by and for staff themselves. They're usually run by volunteers, and today I know these 12 individuals are very good examples of the type of passion around a topic that brings people together. The idea is that ERGs are places where they can contribute to a sense of belonging. And that everybody can find somebody across the world, regardless of what duty station they're in or what discipline they have, somebody else that they have a common interest on the subject with. So if we look to the next question, another question you might ask is, why are we setting up cross-system ERGs? And again, if we look at the next slide, the answer to that is because when ERGs work, they make a real difference to people's sense of happiness in the workplace. There's a lot of evidence to say, that ERGs can really contribute to inclusivity. So this is why they're laid out as an objective in CGIAR's action plan for advancing gender equity, diversity and inclusion. So if we look at it from both a staff and an organizational perspective, from a staff perspective, ERGs help build bridges across structures. They help bring together people who are separated by geography or by maybe structure, organizational structure, and they connect people so that we can provide each other with support, we can make introductions, we can share information, and we can help each other in learning and development. They're recognized in an easy way for people to get together. So essentially, they just make the workplace more fun and more globally connected. And as well as being useful for staff, they're pretty helpful from an organization perspective in general, because they lead to greater staff engagement, and that in turn leads to greater retention, more motivation, more morale, and very importantly, more innovation. They're pretty useful as sounding boards for managers and teams to use as focus groups, but also to turn to user testing new ideas. Now, we shouldn't confuse them with staff associations. That's not the purpose of ERGs, but we do recognize that they can provide additional channels through which staff can raise ideas, can speak up and give unique perspectives. Because they evolve to meet the needs of their communities, they don't need any additional workload from outside, which is great. Finally, you might wonder, why are we launching them right now? Why are we launching ERGs now? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you'll see from this next slide that they're a really important part of the work that we're doing on the GDI framework and action plan. The vision for them is that they're open to all staff from across all CGIAR who are interested in this topic. In other words, to bring people from across the system together. And I'm lucky that I have the good fortune to be able to support them. This Wellness at CGIAR is the first of 3 ERGs that will be launched in 2020. The other 2 are called WIRES, Women in Research and Science, which will launch in November, as well as a 3rd ERG, which will be focusing on anti-racism and launch towards the very end of this year, start of January next year. So from my perspective, I'll sign off by saying it's really exciting to see all this hard work come to fruition. It's great to see the personal commitment and the excellent timing. I mean, launching a wellness ERG in 2020 seems really apt, considering all of the challenges that this very strange and challenging year has brought to us all. And also choosing to launch a global conversation on wellness in the month when everybody around the world is focusing on mental health also sends a really important signal. So I wish you all every success. Thanks very much, and back to you, Doina.
Thank you so much, Fiona. That was really, really insightful. You must be asking, now that we discussed the vision of an ERG, what is new with wellness at CGIAR and what will this ERG be focused on? So as you can see on the screen, this ERG in all its forms is crucial for all of us in maintaining, improving our culture and work-life balance, maximizing our potential, our achievements, and impact in our work. This ERG will create and promote and maintain, of course, wellness by providing information, community building tools, knowledge, forums for discussion, and learning opportunities for all. So our goal with this ERG is to make available this platform, and we hope that you all will join this goal to be part of a member of this ERG so that we can continue discussing these topics in the future. And I will like to move on from here into our poll that you can see on the screen. I would like you all, in one word, describe how you perceive wellness in the workplace. We will give a few more seconds to this poll. I can see really nice keywords coming up: trust, balance, justice, support. Really interesting to see all these words. Honesty and humor, that's nice. Freedom of expression and peace. Time management. Equity. Really, really important things that we have to keep in mind, and we will be discussing throughout this event. So over to you, Sal.
Thank you, Doina. We keep mentioning the coordinating committee of this ERG. Who are these people? The coordinating committee for this ERG is actually comprised of 11 colleagues from across the system. Unfortunately, they will not be able to join us due to the difference in the time zones. So I will just mention their names. We have, apart from Doina and myself, we have Candice Pereira, Administrative Officer from IMI, Hamish Dunsford, Program Manager of the Global Wheat Program and member of the Staff Committee at Summit, Lina Tripathi, Plant Biotechnologist at IITA, Maimuna Endur, HR Consultant, Recruitment and Complementary Staff at Icarda, Nohun Belko, Plant Phenotyping, Postdoctoral Fellow at Africa Rice, Oluchi Ezeka Naga, Program Analyst at CGIAR System Office, Samson Adeleke, Head of IITA Clinic, Shashwat Dangana, Research Officer at IMI. Doina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sal. In coming together to build this ERG, we have had to ask ourselves, why did we do this? at a time when we are also busy with so many competing demands on our time, why would we volunteer to focus on wellness? And I think from my perspective, I think that's really important, because what we want to achieve with this ERG is to have this group so we can discuss further this topic together. So I gave you my perspective as an ERG member, but I would like to also know from Sal, what can someone joining the ERG can expect from this group?
All right. If you join us, first, you will be part of a group that aims to create more inclusivity, not only within your respective centers, but across the CGIAR. Second, you will be able to use your network to share information about wellness to a wider audience in the hope of creating more motivated CGIAR employees, especially during this time. And lastly, it will give you an added sense of pride that not only are you contributing to your centers and the CGIAR's mission, but that you are also helping individuals have access to information on wellness that could potentially impact their lives as members of families and communities. Tuwing
Thank you so much. At this point, we would like to welcome our next speaker. He's Elvin Granger Jones, a member of our new EMT and the Managing Director for Institutional Strategy and Systems. Elvin, I'm guessing many of our colleagues have two questions. How does leadership feel about ERGs and the topic of wellness in general? And how do you personally feel about this topic?
Thanks, Doina, and thanks to you and Celeste and other members of the group for organizing this. It's great to see this conversation happening. By the way, it's a really good group looking at the diversity of your members, which to me is the best of CGIAR, this kind of range of views and backgrounds. So I'll talk about two things. I mean, my sense of why we need to talk about wellness, and maybe a few words on why have an ERG focusing on this, and take this as my view, but I know it's that of the EMT as well, the executive management team. I think we share a common view about the importance of really moving forward on the GDI. The Gender Diversity Inclusion Strategy, which actually a number of us in the EMT have been involved in, including Claudia, who was very much sponsoring this in her previous role and in the current role. So why do we need to talk about wellness? Fiona covered a bit of that actually, so I'll try not to repeat. I kind of see three reasons. The first is just on the day-to-day, in normal times, we should be talking about this. Just in terms of normal life, the kind of issues that people typically experience at work from time to time or often, the kind of issues they experience in their personal lives, the impact that has on both, means that it's important to talk about mental health, and it's important to recognize stress when it happens, and it's important to focus on ourselves so that we remain content, and when we're content, we're more productive in our personal and professional life. So just the kind of shocks and challenges of just normal everyday life mean we need to talk about this. But hey, we're in a special year where this really difficult thing of COVID is with us, which is creating all kinds of really terrible problems around mental health. The kind of statistics you're seeing are quite shocking in terms of kind of rates of depression, mental illness. So we just need to talk about it now, especially. And unfortunately, I think this is going to go on for a bit of time yet. So this is really important that we have these conversations now, especially. But the third reason is one CGIAR. We're going through a change process, and that's both incredibly exciting and I feel is essential to be able to retain our funding and to be able to do better for the people we serve. And I think it will create loads of exciting opportunities for all of us. But change is stressful, and the uncertainty of it inevitably creates anxiety, and anxiety is a form of, adds to stress levels and can create all kinds of impacts on people's sense of well-being. So it's another reason to be talking about that. So I think it's especially important we focus on wellness right now, and I think it's going to be exactly the same reasons to drive this discussion next year. Why have the ERG focusing on this? Well, if you want to explain this, it's just a really good way to have another discussion around this that goes beyond the formal ways we support aspects of wellness, whether it's the counselling services that have been put in place, the flexible remote working that actually has seen a real transformation because of COVID in terms of how we work around that, and various employee assistance programs and sort of HR structures. So it's great to have this parallel informal network to talk about these things and share advice and knowledge, and to just remove some of the stigma of talking about mental health, which there is so much stigma around this, that this is just great if we can have these kind of conversations. I also see it as opening doors between us, as creating safe spaces to work about this. But the last thing I'd say is, I see having these kind of conversations as part of a broader effort we want to make in creating, in making one CGIAR, or whatever we call ourselves when we go through a branding exercise next year to coincide with launch of one CGIAR, very much a place that we'll continue to be and are even more proud to work at, and that attracts and retains the best people. And part of that is just being a place that's progressive in its thinking and its culture in terms of working here. And that includes the ability to have these conversations, but it's also about the profile of the people we want to attract to CGIAR, the diversity of it, the sense of a shift in our corporate culture to one that is perceived as even or more dynamic, more progressive, sometimes in some respects a profile that very much matches the countries in which we work and that we serve, and is a place that people are really proud to work at. So I actually see this as part of a much broader effort to try and build a clearer common sense of values across this 10,000 workforce that very much has this at its heart. So thanks for the work, and look forward to listening to the rest of the conversation. Back to you, Doina.
Thank you so much, Elvin. And I will move this discussion forward with another poll. Thomas, if you can help me show the next poll, please. So how often in a week do you set time to focus on yourself and your wellness? Let's see how our audience responds to that. Okay, 3 times a week. That's a very good response. With yoga or a run, that's really excellent. Twice a week sometimes, maybe less. Never, that's someone that needs to contact us and we can discuss about that. 3 times a week, that's great. Let's see a few more answers before we move on into the next session. Never, no. It's too bad. Too little, yeah. Every day, that's great response. During the weekend, okay. We have more or less an idea how much our audience spends in focusing on themselves. So I will take this to Sal for our next speaker.
Okay. Let me introduce to you our next speaker, Mrs. Kia Mcmahon. She has been delivering international corporate training and coaching global executives for over 20 years. She has also been offering stress reduction programs incorporating yoga and meditation for over 15 years. Combining these skills by offering wellness and mindfulness programs for global companies is her passion. Ms. Mcmahon was born in the US and grew up in Europe, France, Germany, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, With an Ecuadorian mother and a Dutch, Austrian, Danish father, she speaks 5 languages and is well versed at working with people from all over the world. She has a BA in psychology with a teaching degree and a master's in international and intercultural management. She's a certified yoga instructor and has spent over 25 years studying wellness. Ms. Mcmahon has a unique approach in combining her personal and professional international background with her wellness and mindfulness experience to create transformational global programs. Today, Saskia has kindly agreed to join us to share some insights and practical tips on wellness and mindfulness. Over to you, Saskia.
Thank you so much, Sel. What an honor to be here today with all of you. It's so great to be part of this in a small way. I want to briefly share with you my story of how I got to be here today. So for the first part of my career, I led 2 lives. I worked in the corporate world as an intercultural trainer, coach, and consultant, and was with global leaders from around the world. And at the very same time, I was also teaching yoga and meditation and leading retreats. And I made sure that these 2 worlds would not collide. Somehow I had made a story in my mind that they would not understand each other. Then at 40, I had a life-changing event and I became a mom for the very first time. I gave birth to our daughter. And along with this gift of life, I experienced severe postpartum anxiety, which led to severe postpartum depression. Now, this was a completely new experience for me. I had never before experienced any kind of mental health issues. It was a very dark time. It was a very scary time, but yet one I was really grateful that I was able to find support for. So it took patience and courage to find professional help to get me through this, but I was able to get through it and become stronger because of it. So when I returned to work after this, something was very clear to me. My time became even more precious as every moment away at work was time away from my child. So I was ready to start integrating these 2 careers that I had been keeping separate for so long. I started incorporating mindfulness practices into my corporate work and was astounded by the feedback and the interest. Participants seemed more fascinated by the 5 minutes of visualization or body scan that we started with than the 4-hour training topic. So I knew I was onto something. I sensed there was hunger for more. I started getting brave and incorporating more and more tools from my box. Eventually, I started offering mindfulness programs and am thrilled here today to be talking about wellness in the workplace and sharing some few mindfulness tools with you. We'll move on to the next slide, and we're going to take a moment and look at this word that's bringing us all here together today. This word is wellness. So there's 7 dimensions of wellness, which were originally developed by Dr. Bill Hedler. He was the co-founder of the National Wellness Institute in the US. I'm going to read them to you. Physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, occupational, social, and environmental. So there's a huge correlation between all 7 of these dimensions of wellness and how one affects the other. Now, in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month that we're here today, we're going to be highlighting in particular mental health. So a definition of mental health is our state of emotional well-being. We're going to take a further look at what this all means. Next slide, please. Thank you. So according to the World Health Organization, health was defined back in 1948 as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Now, this was established over 70 years ago and was monumental back then because it included various forms of wellness, not just physical. Today, that same organization defines mental health as a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her own community. So mental health is the foundation of our well-being, of our sense of wellness. It is more than the absence of a mental disorder. It is the ability to be able to think, to learn to understand our emotions and our reactions to others. So mental health is a state of balance, both within us and with the environment around us. Mental health really affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. Most importantly, mental health affects how we handle stress. So we're going to take a moment now on the next slide to look at wellness numbers from around the world. According to the National Alliance on Mental Health, mental and behavioral disorders such as depression and anxiety cost the global economy $1 trillion each year in lost productivity. They also account for over 7% of the global burden of disease. And finally, they represent the leading cause of disability worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, more than 264 million people around the globe have depression. And finally, the Global Wellness Institute shows us that 1 in 6 people globally now has at least one mental or substance abuse disorder. That's over 1.1 billion people. And anxiety here ranks the highest, ranks number 1. Finally, workforce unwellness, such as chronic disease, work-related injuries, illnesses, and stress, and employee disengagement may cost the global economy 10 to 15% of economic output every year. Okay, so what do we do with this? What do we do with these staggering numbers? How do we find a way to lower them globally? Take a look at the next slide. And we'll take a moment to think about what can we do about all this? How can we change these numbers and make a difference? Starting with ourselves, starting with our everyday lives. We can begin today by cultivating tools such as mindfulness to reduce stress. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this word mindfulness and may know something about it. So I want to take a moment now and take another poll and see about what does mindfulness mean to you? What does this word mean to you? So while this is going on, I'm going to tell you a little story. When I asked my 8-year-old daughter the same question, what is mindfulness? What does it mean to you? She said to me, mind full of ness. When I asked her what ness meant, she said, Mommy, nothingness. So her definition was a mind full of nothingness. All right, so let's see what comes in. Great. Awareness, being conscious of what motivates you and what our feelings are, auto-control, balance, being in the now, not stressing about the past and the future. It's a mix of introspection and respiration practices where mind and body find a balance and you stop the rush of everyday activities to seek for peace of mind. And then I think this is in Spanish, autoconciencia, awareness, concentramiento. I know we have Spanish speakers here. Being in the moment. Yes. Let's see, are there any more? Being aware of oneself in your setting. I don't know if there's a few more that are down below that we can just scroll up to. Balance. All right. Okay, so according to the National Center of Complementary and Integrative Health, globally, there are 500 million people practicing meditation as one form of mindfulness. So meditation is just one form. There's so many more out there. We're going to take a moment now and talk about what is mindfulness, and in particular about a certain person who has really created an impact in the world of mindfulness. So one of the main founders is a gentleman by the name of Jon Kabat-Zinn. Now, he established a stress reduction clinic at the University of Massachusetts Medical School in the late 1970s. It was there that he created the world-renowned mindfulness-based stress reduction program, otherwise known as MBSR. I was lucky to have had the pleasure of meeting him personally early on in my career, my early 20s. I was so impressed, even back then, and how simple he made it all sound. It felt like something I could do. And so it's back then that I started practicing yoga and meditation. I love telling the story that we share something very special in common. We both have daughters with the same name, Serena. So John Kabat-Zinn's definition of mindfulness is right here. He describes it as awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And I like to repeat this twice because it takes a moment to let this real definition sink in. So mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. That's a lot. So his research showed that mindfulness reduced stress and anxiety, improved focus and memory, and promoted resilience and patience. Now, who doesn't want that, right? So while mindfulness is, the origins of mindfulness are definitely based in the ancient practices of meditation, we can practice mindfulness in our everyday lives, doing everyday things. Take cooking, for example. We all need to feed our families on a daily basis. How can we do this more mindfully? So when cooking a meal, notice the sounds of the food as you're frying it in your pan. Notice the smells of the spices and all the other things that you're putting together, you're cutting up. There's different sights, there's different colors as the food changes when it gets mixed together, when it's cooking. The flavors and textures change as we taste it and make sure we add the right amount of spices. So being mindful brings focus and alertness in absolutely anything that we do. We feel more alive when we're mindful. We feel more present. We feel more in the here and the now. Move on to the next slide and take a moment to look at some other research that's been done on the practice of mindfulness. So according to the Cleveland Clinic, mindfulness greatly impacts the brain function and the immune system, increases positive effects on mental health, overcomes different forms of insomnia, and greatly reduces chronic pain. Another study that was conducted and published in the Journal of Management called Complementary Mindfulness at Work showed that mindfulness increased positive interpersonal behavior, provided greater empathy and compassion, positively impacted human functioning, and helped improve the quality of one's attention. So aren't these things that we all ideally would love to have in both our personal and professional lives? So we're going to take a moment now and experience a mindfulness activity. We're going to find a grounding activity here together that we can all do wherever you are in the world. So I'm going to ask you to remove any distractions that you may have from around you. Make sure you're seated in a quiet, comfortable place. We'll start by putting our feet on the ground. Just notice yourself connecting to the earth. Take a moment. You can place your hands on your lap. And feel free to close your eyes or lower your gaze. Take a moment to go inward. So just notice what it feels like when we release this visual stimuli and we're able to connect with our other senses. Notice your breath and notice your feet below you. Take a moment and now bring your attention to your ankles, moving up to your shins and your calves. Notice your knees, the front of your knees, the back of your knees, the sides of your knees. And then bring your attention up towards your legs, your upper legs. Notice yourself fully seated comfortably, a lot of weight placed on your seat. Keep relaxing your hands on your lap. And once again, take a moment to connect with your breath. Bring your attention now to your back, your lower back, your mid back, and your upper back. And then focusing on the front of your body, starting with your abdomen, your belly. And take a moment to place our hands on our belly and see if we can breathe into our hands, lowering our breath all the way down. Notice what that feels like. After a few rounds, you can release your hands and bring your attention now into your ribs as we move up to your heart space and into your chest. And as you've brought your awareness to the back body and the front body, just notice if you tend to be leaning forward or back, or maybe even over to one side or the other. And as you gently shift your weight around, just notice if you can find your center, feeling grounded. Bring your attention now into your shoulders and see if you can gently press them away from your ears. Shifting your focus now into your upper arms, down to your elbows, and your forearms and wrists. Notice how your hands feel, the palms of your hands and your fingertips. Can you relax them even more? Bringing your attention now to your throat, to your neck, the front of your neck, the back of your neck, the sides of your neck. And then moving up to your face, to your skull. Taking a moment to relax your jaws and your eyes, gently resting behind your eyelids. Come back to your breath, just notice it. Bringing your attention now to the top of your head, the crown of your head, and noticing it stacked over your shoulders over your hips. Taking a few big, deep breaths here. Still feeling your feet connected to the ground. The palms of your hands relaxing on your lap. The crown of your head, the top of your head lifting you up. Just notice how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally. How is your sense of well-being right now in this moment? Know that you can recreate this at any point and any time. Just slowly coming back, lifting your gaze, opening your eyes. Welcome back, everyone. It's been a true pleasure being part of this. I hope you all have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and thank you for joining me in this journey.
Thank you so much, Saskia. This was a wonderful trip inwards, and we really appreciate what you shared now with us, and what your points, the points that you made earlier about being more compassionate and taking care of ourselves, especially during these challenging times. But this event would not be complete without us sharing few resources on where we can go to find help, or where we can turn in case we experience some bad feelings or anxiety, or we have difficult times coping with stress. So we have someone in here in this panel of discussion. His name is Alonso Balon. Hi, Alonso, can you hear me?
Yes, Claudia.
Hi.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, Alonso is part of the ERG. He's HR business partner at the SIP Center in Peru, and he's also a certified psychologist. So thank you so much for joining us today, Alonso. I'll let you take over.
Okay, great. Thank you, Doina and Celeste, and to the other ERG members for the invitation. So if we can go to the next slide. Great. So we know that there is often a stigma around admitting that we need help. But we also know that we all need help from time to time. And 2020 has been a challenging year for many people around the world. So first, we need to recognize our own emotions. So if we are feeling a little blue, or without emotional strength, or we are living with constant fear as we were facing a big challenge every day, or it is difficult to open the door to go out, or we are feeling confused or mentally tired and just cannot focus, where can we go, or who can we confidentially talk to? Before we go to the next slide, I just want to mention that to express emotions is really important. It is incredibly helpful for our mental health. It lightens our burden, and it helps us to recognize what we are feeling. But often, for many reasons, we are shy to do this. Sometimes we need a private, confidential place to share our fears and talk through our problems. Next, please. Okay, so where can we go? The Gender Diversity and Inclusion Function funds access for all CGIAR staff across the world to external confidential counseling through an organization called the Rom Institute. The Rom Institute is a highly experienced organization used by several UN agencies for their counseling services. Sessions might take between 30 to 60 minutes, and a staff member can access a total of 120 minutes. Counseling is available in English, Spanish, French, Italian, German, Dutch, and Arabic. So no excuses. No one, not your manager or your HR team, will ever know that you access the counseling, and it is for free. To get a private, confidential appointment, you can write to the email you see in front of your screen, or just go to the website to find out more about them. Likewise, your medical insurance might include coverage for psychological counseling. You can ask your HR team or check out the insurance webpage to find out more details. If it does, do not miss the opportunity to use it. And of course, you can also talk to your HR colleagues or managers if you feel confident and comfortable enough around them. If not, you can always talk to a member of your family, to your closer friends, or a member of your community. Break the barriers to openly talk about your emotions. Next, please. Okay, great. So if you happen to be an HR professional or manager and you are approached by someone inside your organization or team, I'm going to give you a few tips. The first one is listen actively. Focus your attention on the person in front of you. Put away your phone and close your laptop and just listen. The second is do not judge. Each person reacts differently to the same situation. The way you cope with something doesn't mean that the others need to cope the same way. The third one is try not to give any advice if you see that a person is going through something important and it is out of your knowledge. Validate his or her emotions and encourage him or her to seek professional help. Also, you can help him or her to find a professional in mental health problem. And of course, it is important to keep the confidentiality. It is important in such cases to retain the trust that have been placed in you. And also in the GDI Knowledge Hub, you can find helpful signal resources on the best practices on managing health and wellness during COVID-19. If we go to the next slide. Okay, and as you might know, fake news contributes to anxiety. That is why it is important to read formal and proven sources. So you can read information about mental health in the World Health Organization, United Nations, the World Bank, or the National Institute of Mental Health. There you will find accurate scientific information. Please avoid any blogs or social media channels to source information on mental health. Choose content verified by reliable sources. Do not share rumors. Misinformation can result in people being left uninformed, unprotected, and vulnerable. So here in your screen, you can see a few links that will direct you to those web pages. Back to you, Doina. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alonso. And now it's time for to take some of the questions that we have received from the audience. We have an audience for Elvin on how he balances work life and how he manages his wellness. Elvin?
Thanks. Well, I try, and I need to put quite a amount of effort in that, especially at the moment. I mean, for me, it's really about managing the right levels of stress. Too little, and I actually get bored, and that's not great either. Too much, and I get too stressed, and that's not healthy, and I get anxious. And about the quality of human contact, which right now is particularly difficult. So I do a bunch of stuff. I exercise. That's an important part of my life. I use my leave. I take vacations. There have been periods in my life where I've used counselors. That's been really helpful. I've used personal coaches. I've used, right now, there's this fantastic meditation app, which I discovered, which is just brilliant. It just makes it so much easier to take 10 minutes out and relax and try mindfulness. So I've been using that. What else do I do? I try not to avoid the difficult conversations to sort of clear the air on things. And that includes the people above me in the hierarchy. So that includes my board right now. So if I need to do that, I'll air those issues. And of course, my team. I vent various meetings with my management team. If things are frustrating, I'll just say, right, let's just get it out. And we have a good vent about difficult things. I try to invest in meeting friends, family, and that's where the expat lifestyle and COVID absolutely sucks. I mean, that's on both counts, that makes it quite difficult. So basically quite a lot of effort I put into maintaining my my wellness, and you know, I see that as a really important thing. Given the amount of pressure from different parts of life that I think we all face one way or another, wherever we are in the hierarchy. So Thomas, thanks for that question, and I hope I gave you a clear answer there.
Thank you, Elvin. We have another question, and that's, what are the signals of depression, and how do I know if I might be depressed? And I think Alonso can answer that as the expert of the field.
Thank you, Doina, for calling me an expert. And yeah, there are different kind of signals of depression. I mean, the most important one is the loss of interest. So, for example, if you enjoy playing football, but out of a sudden you stop enjoying football and you don't have the energy to play football anymore, or maybe you are sleeping less, or you are sleeping more, or maybe you are eating less, or you are eating more. So it depends on the person. But I mean, clinical speaking, you will need to have like 2 weeks of these symptoms, like really strong symptoms to be like to have a diagnosis in depression. So one can feel that something is changing in his body, in his mind. So maybe there is a person that cannot put into words what he's feeling, but he knows or she knows that something is wrong with his body or her body or his mind or her mind. So more or less that will be the sign of depression. But it's important to see the proportionality of the signal and for how long you are feeling this way. Because it's normal to feel tired or to feel sad maybe for 1 or 2 days. But if this sadness continues for more than 2 weeks or 1 month, we need to seek help, of course.
Thank you, Alonso. That was a great answer, and we will move forward with some resources that we want to share with all of you that are here in this webinar today. These are from Saskia's bookshelf, some really, really good book recommendations on mindfulness and wellness, and we will all share these presentations with you after this event so that you can research these books after today. And the next recommendation, this is from me and Sal. This is from our phones. This is what we use. And I think Elvin mentioned that he uses an app for mindfulness as well. Sal, if you want to say something about these apps and how we can use them throughout the day.
Well, these apps are available both on iOS and on Android, and these apps are entirely free, although there may be some in-app purchases that you might want to do, especially with the first one. So it would be good if you can check this out and see how it can help you.
We have a few, yeah, thank you. We have a few more minutes, so I would like to go back to the poll, and we can see there the results of what you would like to have us focus in future events. So if we can show that poll, yeah. So what do you think should be priority for your wellness and well-being in the workplace? We have a majority saying culture of health, mental, physical, emotional, and nutritional. That's really, really great to see. That's that we all want to build this culture together, and this is one of the missions of, well, part of the mission of this ERG. So I'm really happy to see that. But equally important, mental health issues, physical activity programs, meditation and mindfulness programs, support for young families and parents. All of these are really important topics to kind of discuss further. With this in mind, I would like to, and since we are almost on time, I would like to give the word back to Sal for the closing.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. This is our new normal. Before we end this event, we wish to thank everyone who participated in this seminar. Particularly, we also would like to thank Elvin for participating in this event. We appreciate it very much. I know that you are very busy, but you did give time to us. Saskia, thank you. And to Alonso also. We hope that you have learned a thing or two from our speakers that you may apply to your everyday lives at CG and as a member of your family. We are now sharing with you a list of other activities that our group has planned. Do we have it? Do we not? No.
We have it, but we will share it after this meeting. That's why we had those questions in the
All right.
polls. So
Okay,
that's
thank
the
you.
list, and we will continue sharing some more details around those activities in the future. But please, before you leave, I know that you're still there. I can see participants being still in the meeting. Contact us on our email, ergwellness@cgir.org. We are here to listen to whatever you have to share. If you have any talents, if you have something that might be useful to this group, please come forward, share that with us. We will welcome you with open arms and ears and you know, the community that we're trying to kind of build. So with this, I'd like to also extend my thanks to everyone in the panel, Elvin, Saskia, Fiona, for your amazing support, Alonso. And I guess we are closing the meeting today. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Doina. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.